There's been a lot going on while I was in Japan, one of which was Sean putting back together the FD-S15. The engine in it right now was technically my spare engine that we got like halfway through well, it wasn't last season, it was a year before last season now officially. Pretty much the identical engine. It's a 3 liter, it's got some special sauce inside to rev high, quarter fill concrete, but this one has even stronger rods than the last one. Not that we had a rod failure last time, but we just were like limiting torque because we were worried that if we made like 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, we might throw a rod. Now this motor can take it, but I actually went down in turbo size, so this is a G40 1150 when before I had the G42 1200. Going down in frame should allow it to have a little bit better mid-range. Before, without nitrous, it was kind of a dog to drive. With this setup, hopefully we'll be able to run without nitrous. Be a little bit more work than like the E36, which is a 3.4 with an even smaller turbo, but it'll be kind of like a high revving, super exciting car to drive, which is what I wanted from this. You also notice I had the manifold and the turbo housing Cerakoted. It hasn't cured fully yet, so the color is a little more brown than we'll end up looking. But it's really good for both making a manifold look nice when it's old and beat up and protecting from heat. So this car runs again. And I completely forgot how different this car sounds than most JZs. I think the manifold that Johan made for this makes it sound like super exotic combined with the high compression pistons. Sounds completely different than the E36. It's got some top. Yeah. Motor's the same, so technically the same tune could be used, but because the turbo's different, Jamie's gonna come down, he's gonna get it right. We are gonna put it on the dyno today though to run in the new motor. And you might notice, can't walk. In addition to that, the good old Blitzy boys are back on this thing. I do plan on lowering it way more than it's ever been before because I don't really have any crazy tracks to worry about. It's gonna be a fun car, and I do plan on doing laps at the Invitational. I f***ed up and I've probably confused you with how I was explaining the Invitational before. Basically, bottom qualifiers compete on Saturday, the first day. Top qualifiers compete on Sunday, the second day. Top 3 from Saturday get bonus spots into Sunday's comp. Keep it simple like that, and we're gonna have a bunch of random shit happening on track, like me trying to drift every car of mine probably if they all work and I have enough tires. I can't remember where we left off on this last time, but what's probably new to you, we got the harnesses in here. Everything's pretty much done on the interior other than throwing the other seat in. And it's sick because my seating position in this thing is gangster. I actually have pretty good head clearance for being a tall, lanky boy. And the seat has a ton of adjustments, so if we got small people that need to sit a lap time, they can move pretty far forward. I'm actually gonna drive this around just slowly. We're waiting on a glass person to come put a glass windshield in. I want to see what's going on because I hear some weird noises come from the brakes, but it might just be because they're like new calipers and rotors and maybe they just need a bed in. So I'm gonna do that now. I feel like it's gonna have the same problem as the cream car though. No one could ever photograph or video the cream car because it always made their cameras look overexposed. Does it look that way?
No, it looks the part. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Big Honda guy, so maybe this is a common knowledge thing, or maybe I'm just plain stupid. But if you heard when we were driving the CRX around, it was kind of making an annoying squeaking noise. It appears as if the clips above the pads were just rubbing on the outside of the rotors, so I've opted just to remove them. These things. Eee! Treasure hunt. Guess where I got my battery bracket from? Take a wild guess.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can guess.
Good guess, but no.
Yeah, that's not it? Yeah, unfortunately, Drift HQ doesn't stock parts for CRXs.
That's the clue?
Mm.
Oh, I know what you did. I didn't even look yet.
Just look at the ground.
Adam.
Look at the ground.
Out of all things,
That's pretty smart.
John's not gonna like that.
Well, I don't want to have to cut metal and paint
I don't
it.
like how that's going toward the positive.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll go to the local AutoZone and we'll get one.
Oh, that's a little better.
Yep.
This fly's been pissing me off for many years.
It is one of those things, like, I love, like, in race cars when they have graphics on the roof, but this 5 on the roof, it just was never it. I think maybe just because the white border, I feel like whenever stickers have a white border, it makes me think that it's like, you know those really cheap stickers with the white borders?
Yeah, some
like the
red
slab
bubble.
stickers? Yep.
Red bubble stickers.
Yeah, you on Redbubble. Copy my
We're coming for you.
Yeah, we are, actually. We got all the copyright stuff, so we can take you down. FBI's gonna be showing up at your house.
Jesus.
Your battery bracket. Recognize what? That's pretty good, except the part if it's lips and it.
Okay. Observe around the car using context clues.
Contest clues.
You might be able to figure out where this came from.
You stole it from a trim.
From what?
From a trim?
You look around the car. Yo, what size shoe are you?
14.
Yo, what size shoe are you?
Me?
Yeah.
14. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. How do you expect me to? Yeah, it looks pretty
I
good.
don't even need to drill holes.
You know why you make it better? You get some of that expensive ration wire, sleevey wire that we got over there.
Ooh, that would look nice.
Yeah. Ooh. Official ration battery tie down.
I kind of like living on the edge with it getting close to the positive terminal.
All right.
It's a Honda.
It sucks for all that hard work the guards have put into it.
Nice.
Chop security.
It's pretty tight.
we don't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Nah, he's way lower than me. So I made my own radio delete out of cardboard.
Yeah. Well,
Then I ordered a piece of carbon. So we're gonna make our own radio deletes. I usually just do this with sticky tape, but it turns out I think I'll actually be able to use the full length of this, and it just barely wedges in there. I might need to like around the edges a little bit. And then this one I'll have to sticky from the back. But it seems like the sheet I got is perfect. It's like the size of a double din. So I can just do one straight cut, and then it'll look mint.
Just make a Sharpie mark, sir.
Can I get my cut line? This is the first time using this machine. I don't like it because how do you know that you're cutting a straight line? That's what the Sharpie mark is.
Sharpie.
That's what the Sharpie
What do you think? I'm stupid or something?
I don't like this game. I feel like it's gonna be harder to do a straight cut with this than if I use like a circular saw or something. I don't like this tool. It's like I'm a little bit tall. Maybe not. Perfect.
Very nice.
I think I'll need to remove it in order to stick it how I want. Time for a super update. And no, it's not getting LXZs, but they do look pretty cool in here. This is just the test fit.
Yeah, just make sure that it didn't rub everywhere. And now he's telling me he's gonna go 18 on 19th.
Look at all the angle, baby. Wise fat, dude. So, a lot has been done since you guys have last seen the Supra. I wanted to do kind of like, rather than just a little bit here, a little bit there, like one big wow. And the biggest wow thing for me was when you sent me the photo of the intake manifold.
Oh, yeah.
It looks sick. Now, mind you, it doesn't have a filter on right now, so you don't get the full impression. But this came out beautiful.
So, I guess like, well, just as I explained before, was like manifold was intended to be built first, so then we could move on to the exhaust header. I talked with Vargas and Adam on run and length or filter placement. There was a few different ideas. It will look best in the center. It will still show the housings and standing on the one side. It won't take away if we slanted it this way from looking at the headers, and it will give us more space to play with the header design.
One thing that drives me nuts is like, I actually just filmed the engine from the 26B in the 787B. That car, you can barely tell that it's a rotary just because you can't see the keg at all. So I wanted to make sure we could see the keg. So these are going to be mounted down here, and you'll have that nice like overshot view. Might need the filter to be blocking some of it, where you can see, okay, damn, there's 4 housings. It's a 4 rotor. You guys have seen as well, John Vargas has been in town. He's been doing the engine harness for this car. I think he's like pretty much done except for some of the pins on the other side.
Yeah, so he laid out everything. He's gonna have the drive-by-wire setup. He did an individual coil harness that goes to the transmission. We have multiple bulkheads on the firewall.
Oh, that's not there.
Yeah, so
We have another clip where you guys can see it, but it looks really fancy.
pretty nice bulkheads. There'll be multiple of those coming from the engine. You got individual grounds for the housings, your injector harness. There's 8 injectors, so there's 4 and 4 on the bottom. And then there's a few things that he wanted to touch on, which was like relocating sensors down to the side just to keep it clean. It won't get on the way of the fuel rail as well. Really, what's it called?
Military?
No,
Minimalist.
Minimalist.
Yeah, yeah.
That. Minimalist.
I'm about that. And
Minimal.
mind
even
you,
though
we are going to be like cable driven for the throttle bodies at first. It was kind of like an afterthought to do drive-by-wire, but you can buy the module to convert the setup to drive-by-wire. And the thought behind that is when I do track driving, it's nice to have like the auto blips on downshift. You do some other fancy stuff with traction control and stuff when you have drive-by-wire. I usually don't like it for competition cars just because it's more chance of it failing. But this isn't competition car, so it doesn't matter. Nick's car dig is gone, but the chassis harness is done, and he's got everything wired up to the ECU Master PMU. And the keypad looks beautiful on the HGK center console. If you want one for your car, we might have it in stock, or we can get it. Just got that big container of HGK parts at Drift HQ. Carbon Kevlar kits, carbon Kevlar doors, dashboards, bumper stuff, you name it.
display. ECU Master display, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We ran into a small problem. This is pretty much clearance almost as much as we can go without it interfering with the over fender and the gas cap. However, big tire, big problem. So we're not going to be able to have a crazy amount of travel at first, but this will be V1 and then V2 once we have a little bit more time. Maybe we'll relocate the factory filler to the trunk, because if you aren't familiar, I don't know if we've mentioned it or not, but we're using the full radium kit for this car, which is actually like an in-tank surge tank that just goes into the factory location. Very similar to the setup I have in the E36. Instead of complicating with a fuel cell and then needing a firewall, using the stock tanks in cars when you can get away with it usually keeps a very low center of gravity. And when you have the tanks that are custom made for the chassis, they're like molded underneath to fit as ideal as of a spot as it can be.
Big words.
Big words. But anyway, what you guys want to see more than anything is Johan's magic building the header. So I'm thankful enough that he has been vlogging and taking cell phone clips as he's been building them, so you guys can see all that now.
I mocked up quickly the collector under the car. And the best place that made sense was to put it right down there, but it was right behind the last housing. And we're trying to target a runner length of 48 inches. And with the collector that close to the engine in the back housing, it would have make it almost impossible. I would say it's impossible given the space and how big the primaries are. To give you an idea, U-bend from Vibram is a 2.25 inch, and the total length is 20 inches. We need 48 inches for each runner. In order to make 48 inches and the collector to sit right there, we'll have to come up the back runner, which will be the longest and more intricate one, come out forward and send it back to meet that runner length target that we were trying to achieve. But when you start stacking a lot of these big pipes in there, it's almost impossible with the bigger runners. It's just, you quickly run out of space. So now plan B is to locate the collector as far as back as possible. It sits about around the transmission or in the middle of the car. All right, so now we're under the car, and this is where I had the collector sitting. And as you see here is the ion, that metal faceplate. And then that's the last housing where the exhaust exits. That right there is like maybe 8 inches.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. Come back here, as you see the chassis is perfect into this point and it dips down. We could put the collector here, but originally when I checked for clearances, I didn't want to put the collector back here and then make this, technically it will be the lowest point in the car, because right now this aluminum piece is the lowest point on the car, and if I put this here, this will be about a ½ inch lower than this piece. I don't think we have a choice. We can go through here. I don't want to, like, I could try to jam it in here, but that'll just make it hard, and we still got this dilemma of trying to keep the exhaust away from the transmission mount. I think it's gonna land somewhere here, and we'll just have to do with what we can. I don't think the car is gonna be crazy low, but we are running 18s on it. We'll see.
I think it'll be okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, get a straight edge and put it here and see how much lower the collector will sit. That's what happens when you run big old primaries. If it was 1 1/4 inches or 3/4, we could have probably gained to be right above the lowest point of the car, and then that would have been fine. But that's just what they want. This is what we're gonna give them. So we're under the car. You see rotor 1 and 2 are starting to come down this way. This is my mark where the collector will sit. Now I'm working on number 3. Put a little dab there of filler, so when I tag weld it to the flange, I could do it with one hand, hold the pipe, and the other one the torch, burn it, it will hold. These two will be tougher to make the length up here. So once I get down here to curve into the trans and towards the collector to make up the needed length, but it's coming up pretty good. There now you have number 3. So you have a better idea what I mean when I need to send it this way into the collector. If I send it straight through here, I'm short 2 inches. So once I get number 4 in place and around the pipe on the direction I want to go, and I get all the pipes number 1 and 2 into one side of the collector, and then the other 2 I'll probably put on the transmission side, so that I have this room to play with when it comes to getting the length necessary. Pretty stoked how it's coming out. I have room to make 2 separate heat shields for keeping the heat on the header side from the intake, since it's going to be pretty close on there due to the way we are fastening the intake onto the housings. We'll put some heat shield in there, protective header wrap, and it'll be good. From the top side, you can see how it's gonna roughly lay out. I do have space, even though it's pretty tight on the frame rail, to unbolt the flanges from the housings. So on the bottom, I'm keeping the studs. The flange is slotted, so all I gotta do is remove the top bolts, which usually has studs. So we'll put bolts on it. You remove the bolts, loosen the nuts that's on the bottom. Worst case scenario, if we gotta remove the intake, it's just all the HD clamps and then 2 bolts on each of the irons, right there and right there, and then the whole intake comes out. Vargas is, I believe, making, well, yeah, the injector harness will plug into that, so I could unbolt it from the firewall. The whole piece will come out, remove the headers, so it'll be serviceable and we won't be too tight on space. All right, so we got our 4 tubes heading towards the back of the engine. I already have the first 2 primaries running into the collector where we've mounted to the car. Now we're working on this 3 and 4. I'm gonna send to number 4 to the top, and then 3 is gonna be to the bottom, so that I could use that to my advantage on making the length to the desired 48 inches. And once I get them all tacked up, I may do a lot of heavy tacking on the piping, so that if there's any air or any gaps anywhere, that the material doesn't pull as I'm welding them and then warp, and it won't fit back in the car. I do a lot of heavy tacking in the car and then remove it out of the car to do the final welding. All right, so we're ready here. So this is number 3. 3 is going here. I flipped this down so that I could get number 4 in place and then slide it in. Once I do that, I could get number 3 in place, and then it'll be done. I'll do a lot of the welding, tack welding in the car, and then remove it by sections and weld it up. All right, so the header is all in place. Some of this stuff you just need air gap, because I'm gonna make sure that I'm not gonna screw myself when I go to remove this thing. I do have the options to cut the flanges so they're individual, or make slip joints in sections of the exhaust, so it's like multi-piece. But yeah, so primaries are run the equal length to the collector. It's hard to see, but it's pretty wild in the car.
It's Friday morning. We had way too much coffee. We're gonna put the CRX Lexan on. Anyways, I got a pro tip from Johan. He told me to basically tape the quarter glass where it's supposed to go. Put a little bit of vacuum line that I put a slit in to kind of like space the quarter glass up a hair, just to kind of line it up better and keep it pretty easy to stay aligned. Taping it, basically just being really careful and drilling the holes in. Running the drill bit in right to where it touches the metal and then stopping. And then I'll pull everything off, drill the holes, add a rib nut, drill the quarter glass holes a little bit bigger, and then put the correct hardware in, and then hopefully it's all lined up, easy. Yeah, no drama. Right? Okay.
I've been a bit of a weight weenie with the CRX, and I found out that Plastics for Performance, which is a polycarbonate company that we use for our race cars, has a full kit for the CRX. So I was able to score their rear glass that will replace all the hatch glass. But the cool thing is that they even have like custom pieces like this piece that will replace the lower part of the glass. But what I really like about this company is not only is it polycarbonate with a hardened coat so it doesn't really scratch, they match all of like the factory coloring, so you don't need to paint like the line or anything, and when you put it on, it ends up looking like a factory piece. You would never know because it's not like Lexan that gets all scratched up and looks terrible. This is a polycarbonate window from Plastics for Performance, and on this one I actually have like an anti-fog coating on the inside, which has worked quite well. You just have to be careful about how you wash it. These are also Plastics for Performance, so are the rear glass on this. And you can do it like this, which this one is like a quick release just so we can get access in the car. Or this is the way that Marco's doing it on the CRX, countersinking the Allen heads, so it kind of gives you a nice flush look. A buddy of mine, Chris, actually showed me this company back when we were having really rear corner glass and scratch issues, but You can see right here, same thing on this car. I think we have it on the rear glass, but I'm not sure. Yep, same thing on the rear as well. Dirty, but no scratches. Mike remembers the window I tried making on this, the Chaser.
Yeah.
Not very good to see out of.
Home Depot is funny.
So we're not doing the rear glass right away just because I want to do a lap in this video, and this one will be a bit more involved. But this is where all the weight's going to come from, because this thing is heavy. Now it's time to drive a car that looks brand new, but probably feels about the same. A lot of things have been taken apart on this car, so I'm gonna do a quick little shakedown just to make sure that nothing feels loose, make sure the brakes work and everything. Then we'll see what time the CRX sets on the course. I built the course after the CRX was already taken out of commission, so it's never actually done the full layout. I don't know how it's gonna handle the bank turn, but hopefully it works well because everyone's coming into town next week. And I'm excited to see what kind of lap times my friends can put down.
I think you'll be surprised.
Oh, could you plug my fans in? We still haven't wired that to the ECU. The wire's it's a Honda thing. So the car feels fantastic. It's crazy how comfortable I feel in it now with the Recaros and like a proper steering wheel, but there was no crack of VTEC. The car definitely felt like it carried more momentum than a lot of other cars I've driven around that back corner, but it was lacking a lot of power. Like normally this thing blows the wheels off in first gear, and it was like,
I mean, so you roasted them off the line.
Yeah, but before, dude, this thing would I was like, wow, this is a fast car. Now I was like, man, I've been driving a lot of fast cars because this thing's like really underwhelming. But apparently, the speed sensor isn't plugged in, and that's what causes VTEC.
Did the speedo work before?
Cover flew off in the wind, and then also my alternator belt. I think because I didn't have a hood on, the airflow coming into the engine bay just chucked it right out of there. I thought I ran over a box of rocks or I'd killed the engine, but it was actually just the alternator belt, so that's a good thing. It's dark and sketchy, but at least VTEC works and the car works, and hopefully it looks as good as it feels, which isn't that great. So hopefully it looks better than it feels. Don't know what time it is. I definitely got to play with setup a little bit more. I'm gonna use this as a baseline because it's gonna be way better the next time. Mark my words. All right, the CRX comes in 3rd place behind the supercharged NSX with a 3209, and I think it'll do a 31 flat with a little bit of driver mod and a little bit more setup time. I think the CRX could be the 2nd fastest car. Pretty good. I'm rushing over because I'm flying out to PRI. I was supposed to go for multiple days, but I'm just going for a day. We've got so many cars to finish, so much exciting stuff going on. Everybody's coming in town for the Invitational in T-minus like 3 days, so make sure you come out to that. Tickets in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and how the CRX came out. That was supposed to be a beater missile, and hopefully Redneck doesn't crash into a tree. Okay, thanks. Bye.
That's the clue? Oh, I know what you did. I didn't even look yet.
Look at the ground. Look at the ground.
Out of all things.